All right, this video is going to focus in on one major thing, and it's easy. How do we use Desmos to make simple trig calculations? All right, so I've got a few problems right in front of us. I'm going to walk you through, and once we have these problems done, you're going to understand how do we make these basic calculations with Desmos. So I've got a Desmos screen over here, and since we are using trig ratios, you're going to notice that most of everything we're going to do in the near future is in degree mode. So in order to get to degree mode, I'm going to come over here to this wrench. I'm going to click on that wrench, and you'll see that there are radians and there are degrees, there are radians and there are degrees. We need to be on degrees, so I'm going to make sure degrees is highlighted in green. Okay, so degrees is going to be highlighted in green. If you do not have that, your calculations are going to be wrong. Once we get there, it's as simple as typing it in. So number 1 and 2 there where it says sine of 37, I just simply type in sine of 37. It is going to give you a decimal because remember, sine and cosine and tangent, these trigs are nothing but simple ratios, which are fractions that are going to give us a number between 0 and 1. Okay, so in this case, sine of 37 is just simply 0.602. I could put there if I round that in. And then, of course, I can come over here and I'm going to do the exact same thing. Cosine of 29. And that gives me 0.8746 or 0.875. Nice and easy calculations. Now you will notice that these are different. They are inverses, okay? So in the first problem, we are given the angle. Okay, and when we're given the angle, we just type it in as is, okay? But in this case, we are searching for an angle. So there's a little bit more nuance to typing this in. We have to use the inverse. And in previous math courses, we've learned that the inverse is this little -1 thing that we indicate it with. So when we type in the inverse, I do want to start with sine, okay? So because it is a sine problem for number 17, but I'm going to put an exponent in there that is -1. That indicates that we are talking about the inverse. I need to press over and open up my parentheses. And what I'm going to do is put in the decimal, 0.9455. Okay. So essentially, when we do these problems right here, let me go ahead and bring that down a little bit. When we do these problems here, we are going to be switching the statement just a little bit to make it easier for the calculator to make that distinction between the two types of problems. I'm going to write sine inverse of 0.9455. That comes out to be 71 degrees. Same thing when I come to tangent. I'm going to do the same thing. I recognize I'm looking for an angle. Angle is missing. Okay, and so because it is missing, I want to make sure that when I do this problem, I put tan inverse of 4/3. So I just come over here to Desmos, I type in tan inverse of 4/3, and I type it in with the parenthesis 4/3, close it out, and it gives me about a 53-degree angle. So once again, I go back. Let's go ahead and look at this last one. I've got 2 that I'll just look at right here. If I'm looking at tan of 8, I have the angle. And because I have the angle, I literally just type it in as it is, tangent of 8, okay, and that is 0.14. But because I do not have the angle in there, missing angle, I have to bring in the inverse and make the inverse statement. So tangent inverse with 4/10 in that fraction, and that gives me about 22 degrees. So that's how you do both of those problems. You do need to be able to distinguish whether or not you're using basic sine, cosine, or tangent, and distinguish whether you're going to have to find a missing angle and use the inverse in order to solve.